I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Waking up the people of the Most High. Got the knowledge to destroy the lies. DNA history, open eyes. Walk into the darkness and turn on the lights. Wake up, 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 wake up.
I'm not coming back to church until you start telling me the truth. The numbers are dwindling down and the people are not showing up because you failed us. This is coming from a very deep place from somebody who was a devout church member. You want to know why your membership is small? It's now that everybody's eyes are open to who that so-called Holy Land is. I hope that pastors everywhere and start telling us, we are Judah. We are the Israelites. We are the ones that book is talking about. People now are standing up and tell us the truth. Those Israelites in that Bible is me. And it's only us standing up, sounding the alarms every day, trying to wake people up. Everything we learned is a lie. Israel can buy all the apps, buy TikTok, buy Facebook, buy Instagram, buy them all. But the youth have awakened to the truth now. Tell everybody the lie can't be suppressed anymore.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. This is the most important thing you'll learn. Teach it to your children and make sure they teach theirs.
Black History. For many, Black History Month is a crucial time to honor significant figures and events. But a recent reflection we are discussing today raises a provocative point. After decades, I've realized I've lived through more than 50 years of Black History Month indoctrination. Year after year, the same story is repeated by our schools, our media, and even our religious institutions, a narrow narrative that begins with our arrival on the shores of the Americas and the Caribbean. Don't misunderstand me. We must honor those who paid unimaginable prices to push our people forward. The inventors, builders, and leaders who sacrificed everything to make this country better. Their names and their blood matter. But when the same story is told over and over, it forces a deeper question to rise. Why are we the only people on earth taught to believe we have no history, no homeland, no heritage to claim? After centuries of slavery, abuse, mutilation, and terror, our ancestors were kidnapped, carried to foreign lands, and stripped of their names, their languages, and their customs. Entire systems were built to crush identity, to dehumanize, and to normalize erasure, and many of those systems are still standing today. Research even shows that people severed from family and ancestral ties face higher risks of instability throughout life. So this isn't just history we're talking about. It's memory, identity, and the psychological cost of being taught that your story begins in chains. Before we were enslaved, we were someone. And this journey begins by tearing down the systems of erasure and following our identity all the way back home. It's time for us to wake up and discover the whole truth in order for us to truly be free.
And the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. But I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. St. John 10, verse 10. Are there any questions?
Hey, watch it, baby. This cat is heavy on religion.
I can see this has become a struggle between good and evil. Satan has a question.
Yes, sir, Chaplain Gill, but since neither one of us are God, I don't think either one of us are in any position to say who's good and who's evil.
Why don't you just ask your question?
We were discussing the disciples. What color were they?
Well, I don't think we know that for certain.
But they were Hebrews, were they not?
That's right.
As was Jesus. Jesus was also a Hebrew.
Why don't you just ask your question?
What color were the original Hebrews?
I have told you that we don't know that for certain.
Then you can't believe for certain that Jesus was white.
Just a moment, just a moment. God is white. Isn't it obvious?
Well, that is obvious, but we don't know if it's obvious that God is white. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Jesus did not have blonde hair and blue eyes. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the images of Jesus that are on prison walls and churches throughout the world are not historically correct, because history teaches us that Jesus was born in a region where the people had color. There's proof in the very Bible that you ask us to read in Revelation, 1st chapter, verse 14 and 15, that Jesus had hair like wool and feet the color of brass.
Just what are you saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm proving to you that Jesus was not, and I might quote one of our Indian brothers, he was not a paleface.
Aha.
Amen.
Isn't that interesting?
Hello. Welcome to Bree and Scott. I want to welcome everybody on live. And I hope you can hear me back when I was talking, but I might have been talking to myself. Could you hear me, Sister Carol?
Hello, brother. No, I think you were muted.
Oh, but I was having a good conversation too.
Those are the best ones. The muted conversations are the best conversations that nobody hears but you.
You know what? In fact, I need to go back and ask y'all to give me those words again, you know. But I want to thank you for coming on, sis.
Absolutely. Missed you guys last night.
Oh, that was a good time last night. And in fact, the banner, I think brothers coming on, brother Richardson coming on, Richardson again. But just some of the things we got onto, both of us, you get stirred up when you think about some of the things that the people are doing to lie and to try to hinder and hide identity.
Correct.
But tonight we are kicking off. And I'm praying that, and I hope it's not just me, but I'm praying that this is be an onslaught of information that will not just hit the Hebrews, but will hit everybody in our community that are seeking truth. Everybody in our community who are reaching out and looking for more answers. Because once I thought about my own awakening, I've had the privilege to do the Great Awakening and interview a lot of other people. When I thought about my own story, now you might think this is funny, Sister Carol, but this what got me to get y'all impressed on my heart this month. When I was I walked away from the church. I resigned from being a full staff pastor, associate pastor, and then cover some other responsibility of the church. And not to get into the details why I resigned, well, in the time that I resigned, my family ended up moving. Y'all blessed me when I had an education, so I went back into teaching. I was working in the school system in one of the largest school systems here in North Carolina. And I just couldn't help but the gifts and the calling of the Most High are irrevocable. Everywhere I am, I'm gonna minister to people. Even when I was in the school system. So I'm getting my hair cut at a barbershop right across the street from A&T in Greensboro. And that's why I got my hair cut up there. And this young man who was in Comedicism, Comedic belief, he heard by my barber that I used to be a minister. How barber makes small talk, and he heard, he was a pastor. Yeah. Well, why, I don't understand why you want to be a part of the white man's religion. So that started the conversation. I said, well, the Bible started in Africa, son. And he said, what do you mean? I said, the Bible was, and every time I would give him more information. So I would go back and dig in the scriptures and dig for more information. As I was doing that, just to talk to him every 3 weeks I was going there, y'all started opening my eyes to see things I haven't seen before. That's when I came across websites and people who were talking about this awakening and that there are people in the scripture where more people than I even knew. I knew the, the basic. Christianity gave us basic. The man that helped Christ to the cross, he was a black man.
Mm-hmm.
They give you the basic, but that's all they gave you.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I looking for information to reach out for somebody else. Y'all let me find the truth. So that's what I'm praying to happen this month.
Right.
Some of the information we're giving out, if somebody come across this channel, somebody's listening, somebody who's in the chat today will have a friend that they will post this on their Facebook and they'll hear it and they'll say, wait a minute, I didn't know that. I didn't know that happened. So we're going to do a series of lessons about who we are in the scriptures and what happened with us when we got here. Because I know you're younger than me.
Right, I am.
So what?
I said, right, I am.
You're much younger than me. But I realized, sister, I've been through 53 years, and I'm counting all my school years of indoctrination of Black History Month.
Yep.
Every year, the same thing to reset our minds.
Let's say what they are. Martin Luther the King, Rosa Parks.
Yep.
What's it? I can't remember the other ones. There's so many. I blocked my brain now.
You number Carver, George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington. What's the other ones? Sometimes they say Langston Hughes, not all the time, but Langston. When I was in school, it was Langston Hughes.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
Well, Malcolm X, they kind of put him over to the side. They really don't push him too much. They put him to the side. He's a blip. But these are the other ones, the most prominent ones. Let's see. Oh yeah. Harriet Truman. Tubman. I'm sorry, not Truman. Harriet Tubman. Sojourner Truth. Yes.
Thurgood Marshall. Thank you, George.
Thurgood Marshall.
That is helping us out.
Him. Yep. And in Texas, we had Barbara Jordan, and we had Mickey Leland because that was our civic leaders, and also they were national. And I think that's about it. Yeah. All through school. That's what I had.
And those Frederick Douglass. I'm the chat is
Frederick Douglass. Yeah.
I love it when the chat get involved.
Yeah, Frederick Douglass. That's right, Frederick Douglass. Oh, and we all had a part of the speech.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't no Martin Luther King birthday then when I was in school. We recited the dream speech. We all had a piece of it we had to recite.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm asking every people in the chat too, whether we know, because this is a family talk. Today we're talking family. That's what happened on what we got. Garrett Martin. Yep, that's another one. That's not really known, but that's another one. But when you was getting educated on Black history, how many times did you see yourself or see people that would tell you who you are?
No one.
Now, I had a great teacher. Being in Jackson, there's a lot more of us down there. And so I had some teachers that looked like me that would tell me that most of the inventors that invent most of the stuff we use were Black people, and that's great. And guys, please don't get me wrong. I honor my elders, and I honor those who like I said in the intro, those who shed their blood for us. I give honor to them, and I hope that each one of you will go back and see Brother Benayah's video he did on Martin Luther King about him going to the mountaintop. And probably him being influenced on his last days of awakening. I mean, that blew me. Imagine that Dr. King being awakened to who he was as a child of the Most High, and he had planned a trip for 5,000 other Black Americans to go over there with him. And right before it happened, a week before it happened, got shot.
And they assassinated him before it happened. Yep. The next day.
And when I was watching that on this channel, and I commented, and I was getting ready to comment, man, that's an awesome picture, because that's who knows. But I started reading. I used to don't read other people's comment by reading what people were saying. And this, we have to have one person saying that's great information, but what do they got to do with salvation, and then what's it got to do with us as a people, as Hebrews, and being the going into other stuff. And I had to put I had to type back. Brother, Dr. Luther King gave his blood for us. And if y'all would have woken him up at that time in the 60s, and he had an opportunity to take 5,000 of our fathers, grandfathers, and they received something at the same time, man, where would we be today?
Exactly.
Where would we be today? But
it wasn't time.
That's what we got to look for. But welcome, brother.
Want to say peace and blessings. How's it going, guys?
How's it going, brother?
Everything is good. Everything is good. Caught a little of the discussion about Dr. King. But yeah, everything is good. Cannot complain. And you guys know what I always say. Even if I wanted to complain, who will listen, right? So everything's good. Everything's good.
So we're going in on and talk about how and I know you guys I probably had more revolution around the sun than you guys have.
Yes, because I'm young. I'm younger than both of you. I'm younger. I'm the youngest one on the live.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm. You guys gonna make me sound like the Sugar Hill Gang. I guess by now you could take a hunch and find that I am the baby of the bunch.
That's right. Hey.
Come on now. You see, you waiting the brakes on that one.
I'm sorry. That was before my time. I wasn't born then, but that song came out.
Yeah, you was born a few millenniums ago, prior to your time was when they was when they were still dancing in circles like David.
That's right.
Wow.
You got it. That's right. And I look good because I lasted well.
You know what you know that old saying, like the Geico commercial, we are starting to sound like our parents.
Exactly.
I still look good.
I still look good.
No, but yeah, that appreciate you having this discussion, and just look forward to just sharing with the people just some history that they may not be aware of, just the totality of it, because there's so much that we can just unpack from. Of course, Dr. King. I heard you sharing that Dr. King, in terms of him wanting to take over 5,000 of our people over to Israel, and his message was actually geared towards the same location of the Sermon of the Mount. Just all those different things, and I'm not sure if I caught it, but I know we talked about it briefly over the past few weeks about the disrespect of the elders. Just the stuff that you hear bringing up about wanting to get into all the so-called the alleged indiscretions and all that other stuff, even though it's documented, it's public record that the COINTELPRO made it clear what they were going to do. That they were going to create these things to throw shade on him, to help tear up his reputation. And what's sad is, if I'm just going to be real with you, even if let's just say if it is true,
right,
it doesn't take away from what he has done.
That part,
right?
You know what I mean? And the same ones that are doing or making these type of allegations from within our community are the same ones that got a treasure, just a treasure trove of information that if we were able to see what's going on with them, they would, their stuff would be far worse than what he's being accused of.
Correct.
So, I really appreciate it. And I'll just share this real quick too. I remember when we started PFR, and just when we got ready to transition from our home to an actual location, the one thing I did, I was like, you know what? Let me talk to the people so that way they can understand my background. And
Mm-hmm.
I just laid down all the things I used to do when I was out there in the world, right?
Right. Right.
And so I never forget one of the people that was with us, part of the ministry. She literally outburst like, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell everybody what I just heard. I can't believe it." And here at this time, we had about 90 people coming to our home,
Wow.
and I said to her, I said, "You make sure when you tell this information, share this information, tell them that it was I who told you this."
Mm-hmm.
Not you heard through the grapevine, that it was me telling you what my lifestyle used to be prior to my marriage when I was out there in the world. And then I said, now I challenge you, come clean with your stuff. Crickets. And that was the last time that person was at our ministry. So,
Cricket.
again, I just want to share that just to put things in perspective that sometimes we could be the ones that do way too much. We're more forgiving of other community people and spaces. But when it comes to our own, we can be very selective outside of like the pastor. You know what I mean? We could be very selective, but I yield.
And Pastor, just to go on that, we're selected, we're hard on ourselves. And if he, like you said, if he had done some of the things that they said he done, he was a Superman because he was able to navigate the South with all the people who were trying to assassinate him, all the people trying to bomb his house, all the places that was trying to keep him from coming into the area. With no place to stay, he had to sleep in the people's house. He did all that, and got all that other extracurricular activity done. He was a Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an eye opener for me, as far as realizing the magnitude. Because coming from up north, you really, of course, you do all this studying, but you just don't understand or really know the impact of not just what he had done, but all those people that was making sure that he and others were in a safe space. And I remember being down in Florida. I can't remember the name of the city, but it was I mean, they literally still had the public auction stage and everything out in the opening, still there, center of the town. And there's a slave community that used to be a slave community, right? And of course, converted to our community. And you go by some of these homes, right? And you'll see signs about how the civil rights movement, people would come there and they would use their homes to welcome the people in. You even had it was a dental office. Sister Carol, I don't know if you was, I think you was following me at that time. We was connected at that time, and I shared some pictures out there in Florida
Yes.
showing
Yes.
that, and it was just unbelievable. It's like literally you see that was part of the groundwork, and it wasn't just for Dr. King. It was for anyone that was participating in the movement. They made sure you had a safe space, and even if you wasn't, it was internal information where to go at if
Right.
you come in and visiting from out of town.
Right. Well, that was part of
And
the Green Book
yes,
that was used in the South of travel to let them know what cities to go in, where not to stop, where you could stay, where you can eat, where you can buy gas. It was like a guide to our people during the civil rights time, or when they travel. Even the celebrities, when they would come out to the South to um, perform, they used that book as well. And they knew these were safe houses to go to and stop in, or safe barbers and safe whoever that welcomes you in to stay, because we couldn't just go to a hotel. We couldn't just go to a regular gas station. We couldn't just go to a restaurant. We had to go to our homes, our community homes, in order to live while we travel and get around. And that book was used for that purpose, to your
Yeah,
point.
and guess what? I never heard of that coming. Being from
Mm-hmm.
up north, you never heard about the Green Book, and
Right.
I've done a lot of studying on the civil rights and all of that, and I just never heard of the Green Book. I've never come across that information.
Mm-hmm.
that you had to navigate your way around most of the places in the South. In fact, some places still in some areas in the South, in Louisiana, some parts of Mississippi, I know in some parts of Texas, you still have sundown areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those you don't know what a sundown town, well, you probably know what a sundown town is. Because the other places
Right.
you should not be, you don't want to have a flat tire in if you're driving. You know, you just drive on your rims to the next town. Get out of there.
Right.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
still exists.
Still exists. Now, there's one town here. It's after you cross the state line between Louisiana and Texas. It's about a 20-minute drive. You'll hit. It's called Vidor, Texas. I don't know if you ever heard it or not. Um, it still races to this day. Although a lot of people have moved because they have built a lot of new homes, communities out there now. So there's a lot of people moving there. So now a lot of Black people are moving there, where at one point Black people didn't live there. And it was understood when you're driving to New Orleans or driving to Louisiana or any parts of Louisiana that you do not stop here and you do
Look,
not
I was in the
speed through here.
military.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Sister, I thought you was finished. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, even in the military, when I was in the military, we got briefings on, like, I was at Biloxi,
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi, and part of the briefing was, if you have a flat tire, you keep driving.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they talked about the snakes that and that type of thing, but they also talked about people,
Mm-hmm.
that's in these
That was
spaces. Exactly. So they talked about the people. They was like, hey, if you get a flat tire, keep driving, or don't get out of your car, period.
Right.
But they
Correct.
said, keep driving, even if you have to drive on your rims. Keep
Mm-hmm.
driving until the rims bend up and your car just can't drive anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
And just to bring that up in this time, as we go in and we dig into this Black History Month and how we've been programmed every year to go back to the same people, and like I said, we will honor our elders. But I want to go a step farther. I want to go beyond 1619, because, like I was telling Sister Carol when she came on, Pastor, this what brought me into the awakening. I was ministering to another person, and I was looking for more information. Every time I go back to the barbershop, I had to tell them something new. So I bring them stuff, print them something out, to bring them something new, and I found information. So my desire tonight is to dig into some things that I don't think, maybe some people might have heard of, maybe not. But we're gonna go into what this place had, what the system that was in place to keep us from finding out identity. And the first thing we're going to deal with is what happened to us after they kidnapped us, after they tortured us and brought us over here. They put up systems to control us. The system they put up to control us, and one of the systems they had is what we call the slave Bible. That was one of the initial things that started off. And let me pull this up. And for those of you, I hope most of you have seen it, more about it. The slave Bible was a Bible that was created in the West Indies, that only had certain books selected. And where's my screen? Too many things open. There we go. Can you see? Is it on screen yet?
Yeah.
Yes, I see
And
it.
in the slave Bible they had, it was in 1807 in the West Indies, and the regular Bible, the regular canon Bible that we have, not talking the one with you think the Apocrypha would be in it, but you have 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 books in the New Testament. In the slave Bible, 14 books in the Old Testament, 18 books in the New Testament. 32 books.
And it was a KJV scaled down Bible.
Correct.
Just so that way, just to add context to it, because I know in this awakening, and rightfully so, I can understand, hey, we KJV, but I want to make, just kind of add to what you're pointing out, Pastor, is that it was a KJV scaled down Bible. So it's already scaled down, at that time with the Apocrypha removed from it. But now
Right.
when it came to us, it was stripped down even more.
Mm-hmm.
And
But it was a
they took
KJV Bible.
everything. So, go ahead, Pastor.
Oh no, I was just saying, but it was a KJV Bible.
Yeah, and they took everything out that had any information that might show you who we were, or said anything about liberation, anything about Yah delivering His people, about the Israelite, anything that mentioned anybody's ethnicity or shade, all that was taken out. Now think about it, guys. This is what it started on the 1805. These guys, now these are people using so-called Christianity to control a group of people. And just like I was telling you, Sister Gary, I was going back and forth with that young man about, oh, why are you going with the white man religion?
Mm-hmm.
We were talking last night, Pastor Kelly. Man, I feel like the donkey right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what they did. Now, if anytime you said you had some more stuff on that, you can bring it up and let me know.
Yeah, I was trying to search for the PowerPoint, but I could still improvise because what I did was, even to your point, just to save time, I just went on and went on to Chat GPT and just did a quick search because I have the Bible, but just to save me time trying to find a presentation, but it pretty much uncovered what you pointed out and some of the things that I do know when you start looking at all the passages that was used to liberate us. One of the things that was part of my lesson that I taught on this was I got into the slave, or should I say the Negro spirituals. I'm not sure if you remember that, Sister Carol,
Mm-hmm.
when dealing with the word still, the phrase "steal
Still
away."
away. Yes.
That it was more to it, and for me, it just really burnt me up. Made me feel some kind of way of how we even co-sign on them. When I say them, other people tearing down our history,
Mm-hmm.
right? With even words like "kumbaya,"
Right.
how they use "kumbaya." As a way of like an insult, like
Mm-hmm.
you guys heard it a number of times. What are we supposed to
Yes.
sing?
Let's have a
Kumbaya.
kumbaya moment. Let's have a
Yeah,
kumbaya moment.
yeah. Can
Yes.
we all get along? They
Right.
hijacked it
Team
and
building.
exactly. So,
Mm-hmm.
but still away, is one of the key passages. I'll share my screen with what I, just with the Chat GBT, just to save time. But and I'll show, so that way the people could see. But yeah, still away was one of the things, one of the passages that I literally would teach from, because it was more to it than what we were led to believe. Because when you hear the song "Still Away," you just like they would call it Negro spiritual,
Right.
but there's actually a law behind kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
And and you'll see the word quanah. Let me pull it up. Let me just go ahead and pull it up. I'm about to go in without showing. Let me show the source. I'm gonna blame Sister Carol.
How dare
So we
you?
gotta start. She got to make up for what, about a week of being the blame.
Oh wow. Okay then. Okay.
We think, Berean Scholar.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Protected by Yah. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Shows Protected by Yah. Some love.
Now, where is my screen here? Okay, I got so many tabs. You guys are geeks, man. You guys know how it goes. You have so many tabs open, and
Yes.
you start losing where the tabs are, right? So let me share my screen. Let me share this here. All right. Let's see.
I can play some while you're going. I got a short video. I can put it while you're going.
Yeah, if you want to do that, and I'll go ahead and pull this up here. Just looking for the tab.
Oh.
Inside Washington's Museum of the Bible, a single volume that is like no other. The so-called Slave Bible. Remarkable not for what's in it, but for what's not.
So about 90% of the Old Testament's been removed and about 50% of the New Testament's been removed. To put it another way, a normal King James Version has 1,189 chapters in it. The Slave Bible has only 232.
Missing are chapters and verses that might have encouraged uprisings. Book of Exodus, redacted. No story of Moses demanding Pharaoh, "Let my people go." Gone is Galatians, and the verse, "There is neither bond nor free, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus." And no Jeremiah, "Woe unto him that useth his neighbor's service without wages."
What they've left in are verses such as Ephesians 6:5, which is the famous verse, "Slaves, be obedient to your master."
Looking at this Bible, it's hard to tell that anything's been taken out of it.
That's correct. I mean, it looks like a normal book. For many enslaved Africans, this would have been the first time they were exposed to the Bible.
A Bible selectively edited to instill obedience, using religion to underpin the horror of slavery.
When people encounter this exhibit, what lasting impression do you want them to leave with?
But we want to pass the message on that may this never happen again. The Bible itself is a whole book. It's not one that you get to carve up and use this piece or that piece.
The Slave Bible designed to repress rebellion, but it didn't work. Enslaved people in the Caribbean constantly fought against slavery until emancipation.
I think it's very relevant to understand our history, not just American history, but our African American history, our roots and how we got to this point.
A dark chapter in the history of the good book. Jeff Bennett, NBC News, Washington.
We met in the library and you were saying, did you know that we had a copy of, somebody said, did you know that we had a copy of Lincoln's Bible? And we have Lincoln's Bible. And then you were like, yeah, but we also have a slave Bible. I'm like, really? I didn't know about that. So that was my first time hearing about that.
I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post that was talking about pretty much the exact same thing we talked about today, about how certain parts and books have been taken out.
I took an African American history class when I was a sophomore in high school, and it talked primarily about like literature written by and for African Americans, and then it talks about the Slave Bible and like how it kind of shaped what African American authors, especially like during slavery and like right after slavery, kind of did and how they wrote, especially because it was like written for a specific purpose when it came to like providing or not providing information.
Well, I just learned about it last semester, and when we was learning about it, I was like, wow. They really like took out pieces, because like Exodus is like my favorite part of the Bible. Like,
I was kind of offended, and it was like in a way that I wouldn't have expected myself to be. And I think more so like as a Christian, I was kind of like, so this is what like my religion was used for at the time. Because like I had come to know it as something that was used to save and kind of uplift people, and to see that it was being used to do the exact opposite was kind of like demeaning.
If they take this away, that the slaves themselves couldn't discover anything or think about freedom for themselves. So I believe that it was taken out as a power move to say that, oh, we have this control over you, and if you don't think about freedom, then you won't try to run away or won't try to negate it.
I believe it doesn't have the same authority. I mean, it's still the Bible, but once you start taking things out, other things that are mentioned in the Bible may not make more sense, or it's not clear. Like, I'm not sure how you could understand some parts without having context or background.
To exclude a book like Revelation basically would mean that people would not be able to know the end result for the world and for things that are going to happen in the end times, which means they wouldn't be able to fully prepare themselves in the way that they are living for those days.
And if you take out parts of it to suit your own need, then it doesn't suit its initial purpose.
You can understand the psychology there. If the Exodus speaks about the greatest mass movement of slaves, people who were subjugated for 200 years in the Bible, so you can understand why a white slave owner would not want that to be in the minds of his subjects at the time.
Well, I guess the significance was displayed the amount of control slave masters had on individuals, and how they can manipulate their own intellect and with their knowledge into controlling them and coercing them to stay within that same place within society.
in general, no, I would not call it the good book.
To me, no. I think that it is a holistic work, and so in order to understand the importance of all of the individual parts, you like to say things are like a sum of its parts. You have to have all of the parts in there for it to have that same weight.
I do feel a lot of hurt because thinking about it, our ancestors, they wanted to make their lives better, and the Europeans, they said that this Bible would bring us closer to a God, which is a good God, but they took this good aspect, this good Bible, and they twisted it and warped in the purpose of the Bible. So that's painful.
Yep.
Interesting.
And you know, the sad thing about it too, to add to it, is these are the things that are used to speak against the overall text.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear this in the conscious community, that, hey, the Bible is a white man's Bible, is a
Yes.
you know, and all these other things. And even with Christianity, you know, and this is where it kind of pricked me when I hear, like, of course they'll say Christianity is the white man's religion, but then you have our brothers and sisters trying to prove that Christianity is a black man's religion.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, but the entire system hijacked an identity.
Right.
And it basically did exactly, it's like the precursor to the slave Bible. Because when you understand the early Christianity or Catholicism, they, you know, you guys already know this, but most of the people watching don't know that they did not want to have what we call the Old Testament to be included.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
The only reason why it's included
because it was Hebrew.
And so the only reason why it's included is so that way it gives an ancient validity to Christianity, to Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, they took out the Apocrypha. You know, the original KJV 1611 had the Apocrypha, but they took that out. And even now, more and more, when we start getting into the manuscripts, you start seeing key passages, even though it may not be as blatant as we see today with the slave Bible, but you see liberation passages when you get to the NIV removed, for starting with the importance of prayer and fasting.
Right.
You know, that's removed. So they already they've been doing this for centuries, but when we get to as you pointed out, late the foundation brand scholar, the playbook of the crafty council, you know, we all talk about that. That is the playbook of the crafty council. What is the 83rd book of Psalms? And the key, I believe, is verse 3, where it says that to make sure the remembrance of Israel is no longer in remembrance.
Right.
And what that means is, and what it says, the name of Israel. In other words, the reputation. So everything that we see was to what? Completely erase our reputation as a people, as Israelites, what we are known for. You know, even in the scriptures, you see how the nations knew the Israelites because of our Most High, Yahweh. So, but yeah, this has been the playbook, and you can understand a lot of the hurt that is expressed in the video that you played, but you know, and that makes it challenging. That's what makes it challenging, because we still have to deal with that. And it took words, and you heard me say this. I don't like using that word master. I don't like that entry inside the transliteration, because it has the definition of it has a certain tone to it.
Yeah.
You know, like when you see master, and it makes it clear. In a nutshell, it means to get the best of.
Right.
That's the original definition of the word.
Right.
So now we calling the Father master. We calling Christ master.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough we got to do that with our degrees, right?
Exactly. Master. And there's even a song by James Cleveland that starts off master.
Show enough. Who's the master? Anyway,
That's
I just
right.
had
And
to throw
showing
a
up,
little
who's the master?
humor in
You know, Pastor, I was listening to those young people, those Fisk University students, and just like you said, you know, once their eyes were open, with wait a minute, that's what they did with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
The young girl said, "That's what they did with my religion," because
Yep.
nobody knows. They don't know, like you said, what they did, what the founders of the church did to wipe out our identity. In fact, even doing this research, putting this together, you and I was talking about some of the things I was reading about, and one I'm gonna get to it later on. I saw somewhere the truth came out, even in their attempt to keep us down. They spoke truth.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It did a Michael Brown on us.
You know, Nat Turner was still able to, and that's the powerful thing. He was using that slave Bible, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
they were being taught out of. But
He
he
was
was
connecting
still
dots.
out of what he had, still saw
Mm-hmm.
liberation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep. He
that's
was
the
connecting
powerful
dots.
thing about that. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say he was connecting dots even then, that he knew something about this book was telling us that the Father was going to do something for us, for the oppressed. He even
Hallelujah.
saw the oppression in there and the liberation to the oppression, and went to teach the people, but he wasn't supposed to be teaching, and flipped the script.
You had
But it's
something for us, Pastor?
interesting to know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sis.
I was going to say, but interesting enough about the book of Genesis, the young lady said they take the book of Genesis out. Well, the very first chapter, well, not the first chapter, second chapter, there was logistics that was laid down
Mm-hmm.
in the word to pinpoint where all this was taking place. So he gave us a map in writing, a thumbprint to say this is where my people were created, and this is where they lived in this garden that I created, and these are the coordinates of where it was located. And where are those coordinates located? In one continent on this planet. So how can it be some other group of people when he has it mapped out in the second chapter, logistically telling you where it's located?
Amen.
So that's the number
Pastor,
one reason why. You still there?
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
we're listening to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It just lets you know that they knew that this whole book was the key to everything. It was a key to the logistics. It was key to the children. It was key to the fathers. It was key to the sons and all the people who the family tree. The family tree was outlined in Genesis 10.
That was the big reason.
So they had to remove it.
Yeah. So, Pastor Kelly, what do you want to go with that?
Yep. I was while Sister Carol was speaking, I was, you know me, I'm always in my pinky in the brain mode. So I was kind of
What we gonna
working,
do today?
on this slide right here, that when we, just to give a little more information on Steal Away. But let me go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and let's deal with what we have on the screen. Let me go back to my source here. All right. So I just quickly before before I jumped on, I just did just went to chat and just I typed in about the slave Bible, so to speak, and what it did was it just really broke down what was removed, just what you shared in that slide. I mean, in that video that you shared, and also your slide. So it pointed out here. It says here, as just to reiterate what you shared, exactly what books and chapters were included versus excluded. Based on the 1807 volume itself, chapter ranges reflect what actually appears in the printed text, not what later summaries assume. So it goes on to say, important note for your teaching material. It goes on to say, this book is not a simple whole book kept, whole book removed edition. Several books are present only in fragments. So Genesis, it points out the actual chapters that's there. And then when you get to Exodus, only chapters from 19 to 24.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Now. Chapter 10 in Genesis is not there?
No, chapter 10 is not there.
That's the family tree.
You see what you said, Sister Carol?
Yep.
Chapter 10 is not there. And we all know, because we've been teaching this forever, right?
That's right.
And for our ministry, right? That was, Sister Carol say, that was what, the 4-year message?
That's right. Chapter
Almost.
10.
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10 is the key to
Heritage,
everything.
identity.
That's right.
Now, why would they take away that?
Because they know.
And I'm saying that being funny, Pastor, because in my awakening, I went through Genesis and doing the genealogies, thinking that I was Hamitic, and I kept seeing Hamitic people with Hamitic people. So I said, well, still they make them brown. But then when it messed up when I found some historical sites that showed me that the descendants Edom, the son of Shem, was brown, because the stills on the wall at the palace and trying to remember the palace. You know what I'm talking about, the soldiers they showed on the wall. For this, they were in
the Syrians, yeah.
The Edomites.
Edomites.
Edomites. They were brown, and they showed them as brown. Wait, people are brown. They were brown.
Everybody brown. The whole book is brown.
But here's a recovering pastor reading Genesis again and finding that out. So if they left it in there, we could find. They didn't want it to find it out.
No. Again.
And that was, go ahead, Sister Carol.
I was going to say, again, because of chapter 2, the logistics.
Yeah.
You got to start with the logistics of where all this is taking place.
And see that, and think about it. On the list, you see chapter 3 removed. Because when you start understanding chapter 3,
right,
now you're dealing with Cain and Abel.
There you go.
Right? You start understanding the price that is paid for murder. You see, am I my brother's keeper? We're not trying to go New Jack City here, family. But those are some key foundational things that are there.
Right.
Right. But then you carry over to chapter, as you see here, you have chapter 3, 4, and 5. Because in chapter 5, genealogy.
Right. Again.
Right. Because that, and I'm just pulling it up here, and it starts off with, this is the book of the generations of Adam.
Right.
So you have chapter 3. Let's look here. Chapter 3 is missing. We know that that's the Adam and Eve, how they went against the Most High, and the punishment that was set. Pretty interesting, right? So you had chapter 3 dealing with Adam and Eve, dealing with the punishment that they had to deal with, and then you see, and it's not, and when you study chapter 3, it's not just saying a select people are cursed. No. It's saying all mankind.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because of Adam and Eve's decision making,
right?
Everyone has to deal with the penalties, as we dealt with the death penalty.
Correct.
Right? That's the curse, sin and death.
Right.
But because they removed that, so that they could point the finger and say, "Hey, you guys are cursed because of your skin complexion."
Right.
So they removed that, and then when you get to chapter 5. right? You go through the whole lineage, right? It shows it the entire lineage. And actually, if we go back to 4, it closes out with saying, give me some lineage there, right? When you start getting to the latter part of this. But then it says that all men began to call upon the name of the Lord. And actually, it's the proper text is Yahweh. And you'll see Kalal, which means profane.
Right.
So they had to make sure they took out how people began to profane his word.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
So now when we get over to chapter 5, then you go through the lineage of this is the book of the generations of Adam.
Correct.
So these passages, family, as we're expressing to you guys, is not a coincidence. It was a calculated effort to make sure that there was nothing within the scriptures remotely in their mind that can that would allow us to see exactly what's what.
Right.
Put the dots together, and as Sister Carol pointed out, they were still able to see the liberation, even with what was remaining.
Correct.
All right, and so I just wanted to point that out. The significance of those missing chapters, and then as you guys already pointed out, chapter 10. And family, that's in the church. We still push kind of do the slave narrative there because what you guys are told, don't worry about those these and thous and who begat who and who begat. That's not important.
That's right.
So even though we have the whole book in front of us now, not the whole book because the Apocrypha in many cases is missing, but still we have the foundational books in front of us, and we still take on the slave narrative, or should I say the slave Bible mentality, because we still erase those books out of our mind. We push them out of our peripheral, say it doesn't matter.
Correct. And the church still to this day do not even recognize or even know about the Apocrypha. To this day.
Yeah.
I had asked some people who were in church, do they know what Apocrypha is? They asked me, what is that? I see these are hidden books that was removed from the 66 books that's inside the Bible. Oh, I never heard of that. Who told you that? How do you know this? That was the response. And it's amazed that mindset is still intact with that.
Well, we could add, who is the people who took these books out?
Right.
The church.
It's the church, the Roman Catholic Church.
It's the church that took these books out.
Right.
Go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah. No, you guys are hitting it on the nail. You guys are hitting it on the nail.
And what's also interesting is the reason why they took these certain chapters out, because as you mentioned, Pastor Kelly, is because they wanted to make sure that there was no rising up for murder. They didn't want to be taught killing against one another, against them, more importantly. They wanted to push obedience to them. They wanted you to understand. They didn't want you to understand marriage because that was not going to be part of our culture. And of course, didn't want us to know about family tree and lineage. But the main thing they wanted us not to do was rebel. They had to come up with something for us to be obedient to them. Submission.
I'm glad you brought that up, sister. I'm glad you brought that up, and we're gonna come back to your point again later on after Pastor Physical. Remember what she said, y'all, in the chat. The reason why they did not want these in the book, but we're gonna add another big one into it. So go ahead, Pastor.
All right, and so just to kind of pick up where we left off at, so you guys see chapter 10 missing. You also see chapters from others, right? When you look at 23, not going to go into each one of them, but even when we skip down to some key chapters here as well, with chapter 48 and 49, that's dealing with the heritage, that's dealing with you know, Jacob, you know, basically charging his sons and also setting up the heritage for Ephraim and Manasseh as well. But anyway, Exodus, look at what we see. Exodus only 19 through 24 is included. So they took out all of the Egyptian, you know, suppression, starting with chapter 1.
Right. All about Moses. He's removed. How he was created, what he did.
Yeah. And look at here. There's no book of Leviticus,
No.
Numbers,
No laws.
Deuteronomy,
Nope.
Judges,
Right.
Kings,
Right.
Psalms. Because you
Right.
know, Psalms, when you read the book of Psalms, you know, it's liberation all through it. Just start with
Yes.
David.
Yes. The prayers, the cry outs.
You know, one of my favorite of his is, you know, Psalms 55. You know what I mean?
Right.
David, like, hey, destroy them, take their life. You know what I
Right.
mean? These
They
people are
had that
just,
in
you
me.
know, anyway. But you know, these are some key books, family, and this is the agenda as Berean scholar laid out. You know, so Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Judges, Kings, Psalms, the prophets. They took all the prophets out.
Mm-hmm.
So look at what it says here: completely excluded Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah. You know, they took all of this out.
Wow.
They took out Hosea, Malachi. Then we go down to when we get to the so-called New Testament, right? I'll say renewed covenant. So, because some people may take, when I say so-called, they may think that I'm teaching against the passages. So let me just make sure I phrase it that way. All right. But look at here. You have Matthew. They took out the genealogy. Because in Matthew chapter 1, that's the genealogy.
Exactly. Starts all over again.
So they made sure they didn't just take out passages that when we start dealing with liberation from a perspective of slavery, but they took out identity passages. I mean, they took out Matthew chapter 15. That's where Christ says that he did not come for no one else but the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Israel. That's right.
Come on now.
They took that out, family. They didn't just say, oh, we're just going to give you guys the New Testament. They made sure they took out identity related scriptures as well. They knew that we are the people of the book.
They did a DEI exclusion of the Bible.
Yeah.
If you will.
You're getting on, you're dropping the mic early.
They took out Matthew 17.
Yep.
This spirit comes out by way, what? Prayer and fasting. They say, hey, you know what? We're not just going to take out verse 19 or verse 20. We're just going to take out the whole chapter.
Whole chapter. Yep.
So this is important, family, for you guys that are watching. They took out everything, not just liberation, but anything that can remotely point to our identity of who we are.
Exactly.
Because they did the same with Luke. They took out lineage.
And then now it makes us understand how well we accepted Christianity, because by the time slavery was over with, after the Civil War and Reconstruction, and we started doing our own thing in our own churches, we already had this mindset. So when we got the rest of the book, we didn't read it. We was real along with what we've been taught from our previous elders. They taught us from this slave book. Because even when they left in the Exodus, the covenant, starting with the covenant, the 10 Commandments, how that was been taught to us. And then when we got to Matthew, saying that we don't have the law no more. That's where that mindset came from. That we only obey, quote unquote, God and the master. And we carry that on.
Yeah.
And we cherry pick the chapters.
Yeah.
Just like they did. Even with
Yeah.
the whole book intact now. We still use the slave master's Bible that was given us.
And guess what? It still is imprinted in our brains, our mind.
Yes.
Self
Yes, it
check,
is.
right? And family, this is, and we talked about this before about uh, strongholds, right? When you start dealing with strongholds,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, these things come by way of traumatic experiences.
Yes.
You could create strongholds by way of traumatic experiences, and we proved that with Emory University studies.
Right.
So this is their way of what? Hacking our DNA, because then this information, this traumatic experience in terms of the results of it, is handed down through generations genetically.
Right.
It alters your reproductive organ. We have proof in the scriptures. We don't have to go to Emory University, but when Adam sinned, right? Adam and Eve went against the Father. Guess what? Their whole reproductive system changed. Their anatomy
Correct.
changed.
Correct.
All right. So that's in the scripture. So strongholds are there. And look at here, the entire book of Acts is removed.
None. And that was key.
The entire book of Acts.
That was key.
Because in Acts, you'll also see that the disciples,
Mm-hmm.
right? They only sent people out, like Philip and all those. They was going to only Judah,
Mm-hmm.
only Israelites,
Only Israelites. That
which
was
completely gives you proper clarity of how many people misteach,
Acts.
Matthew
Right.
about hey, Christ said, hey, go into all the nations,
Mm-hmm. All the
baptize them
churches.
in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That is an interpolation,
Mm-hmm.
right? But nevertheless, you see the whole entire book of Acts is gone.
Yep.
Look here, only Romans 13 is here. Only 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is here. Only chapter 6 of Ephesians is here. They did it. They did a number here, family. They removed Philemon. They removed Hebrew.
Oh yeah, I had to remove that one.
Hey, if we're not the people of the book, why did they remove it?
Exactly.
Because it's written specifically to the Hebrews. So they removed Philemon, Hebrews, and look at here, James. James starts off with to the scattered. You know what I mean?
Right.
Israelites. So they took out all the liberation, right, as much as they could, but they also took out identity related passages.
I'm glad you said that, because let's go back to Genesis 11, which they kept in. It's the reason why they kept that in. It's the reason why we had such a kindred spirit, want to be Shem. I'm not Shem, but want to be Ham so badly. And they left all this Babylonian information for us to follow into.
Yeah. He says, real quick,
But
because it looked like Berean Scholar fell out, got
uh-oh.
disconnected. He's been going for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I don't have my phone in front of me if you want to text him.
Let me text him.
But we'll keep it going while he's
Trying to get it back on there.
getting back on. Yeah, I know he's probably experiencing some technical issues, and I know they got a lot of snow out there too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Forgot he's in North Carolina.
But as Sister Carol was doing that, family, as you could see, I mean, they did a hack job, and it wasn't just from a perspective of liberation, right? But also identity, because identity is liberation. Because when you start understanding who you are, but they took out again Philemon, Hebrews, James, First, Second Peter's, First, Second John, for First, Second, and Third John, Jude, the entire book of Revelation, right? So again, they highlight all the books that was completely taken out. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, he's trying to get back on. He texted me. He realized it.
All right. And as you see here, deliverance and identity of Israel removed from the slave Bible. Exodus 1 through 18, chapter 1 through chapter 18, entire section. Exodus 3 and 7. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt. And see, family, I'm not going to let the 1948ers off the hook either, because they in cahoots with this.
Exactly.
Because they understand what scriptures that will liberate us as well, especially when you start dealing with identity. You know, they had the whole Spanish Inquisition to perfect their agenda. All right, so these are some liberation passages here. But it says in in the 1807 volume, the text jumps from Genesis 50 straight to Exodus 19, which we already touched on. This removes Israel's bondage narrative, Yahweh confronting imperial power, public signs and judgments against a ruling state, the political reality of deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
Only Sinai laws remain intact. In other words, the law, the commandments that was given to the Israelites at Sinai, right?
Right.
As you see here, man stealing, the single most dangerous law for slavery, and that's the one what we're going to touch on here. But as you see here, Exodus chapter 21, verse 16, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And the Hebrew word for stealeth is ganab, which also transliterates to kidnap. And family, let me just add some additional context, because when you start dealing with people, our brothers and sisters that are dealing with or promoting polygamy, they use these laws here to try to justify it.
Right.
Right? This almost this entire chapter is dealing with indentured servitude. All right. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that little nugget out there. So this law alone criminalizes capture, transport, resell. It collapsed the Atlantic system in one verse. Right? Israel, number 3, Israel's repeated resistance to kings and tyrants. So they completely removed anything that dealt with resistance. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. Also examples in the KJV, we will not hearken unto thee, because remember, this is not a good text in terms of from a good tense, from a perspective of Jeremiah 44. This is actually dealing with the women rebelling against the prophet, because he's calling them out about baking cakes and giving drink offerings to the Queen of Heaven. But they were like, we will not hearken unto thee. So that's still from a perspective of a form of rebellion. All right. So this is just giving some additional information on that. All the prophetic confrontation of rulers is removed. All right. Songs of deliverance and national memory removed. And think about this, family. This is what we were talking about as well. That word ganab.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of what? Songs. Steal Away is a song. Written by who? Hebrew Israelites. Is it a coincidence they're singing the very passage that forbids being kidnapped? Any comments, Sister Carol? It look like Berean Scholar. Are you back on?
I think he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah, I
hear
can
you.
hear you
I can
now.
come on my phone for some reason, but my laptop would not let StreamYard come back up, so I'm restarting my laptop. So give me some time to get ready. I'm reboot and see what happened.
Okay, welcome to our world.
Yeah, they did just shut me
You in
Exactly.
the
out.
I do you officially in the big leagues now.
Exactly.
You shutting down your laptop.
Yep. You got to use your
They
phone.
shut it down.
You're
You
right.
on the list now. You got the juice now, buddy.
You
And
know,
this,
I'm about to call them, tell them they better sit their butt down so I make change.
that's too funny. But it's just
So
interesting, though. Look, going. going back and just read some of the chapters they did leave, and then understanding with the mind you have now, and to read it, now you understand why they left that, and then what they did with it when they left it, how they taught it to us to help us understand what is being said to us. Like in Romans 13, which is the one only chapter they left in Romans, which is to honor authority.
And what do? We still reiterate that in the church.
That's right. That's my point I was getting ready to say. You can see the strategic plan, the craftiness, and the evilness they did for using our history. Because this whole book is our history. And how they chopped and screwed it up and gave it to us.
Exactly. Kick the original people out of their own heritage and hijack.
Yes. It's amazing. That's diabolical.
Well, that's one of the things when you read the Deuteronomy 28, right? It says that we was going to be turned over to a people, a fierce nation.
That's right.
We have no respect for our elders, don't have any respect for our youth, have no respect for anything that pertains to us.
That's right.
And guess what? There's no coincidence that they made sure that book was taken out.
Exactly. Totally taken out. Annihilated, if you will.
So yeah, it's a, as we laid out, family, you can see here the agenda here as you see songs of deliverance and national memory removed, all of Psalms, right? And here's one of the examples he gave, the 107th book of Psalms, verse 14. He brought them out from darkness and the shadow of death, and break their bands in sunder. So the entire liturgical memory of bondage and rescue is erased. Look at here, restoration of scattered Israel. Removed. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea. So again, restoration of a scattered Israel. And they know that they're the ones that's doing the scattering.
Can you guys hear me now?
We couldn't see that.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear and see you.
Say it again. I didn't hear you, Berean. Say it again.
Can you hear me? I just fought my way back. I had to reboot the whole computer.
You say you had to reboot your whole computer?
Everything.
Okay, yeah, I still can't hear you. Say it again.
Oh, cut that out.
he was falling with it.
He was falling for it.
I was frantic, man. I was frantic. I was and I was out.
Yeah, go ahead and throw him under the bus. Throw him under the bus right quick.
I mean, everything started jumping and all of a sudden went blank.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
But I'm so glad you guys kept it going.
You know how we do. We do. And just where we are now, we're dealing with going through what chat highlighted for us, even the books that was removed. Remember, we talked about identity, and look at here, restoration of scattered Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So every book that refers to a restoration of a scattered Israel, that lets you know they know that we the people of the book.
Right.
They didn't want us to see ourselves as being scattered.
No.
Because they know, all it takes like 2 or 3 generations and we completely lost.
Right.
Our identity is completely sifted out of us, and that was that whole process of, trying to indoctrinate us with their understanding of the text.
And
so Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, and then it gives an example here. I would say to them which are not my people, thou art my people, right? And family, Paul touches on that in Romans chapter 9, and it's dealing with Israelites. I will gather you out of all countries. Ezekiel 36:24. This directly intersects with your long-standing position that the prophets are addressing Israel in dispersion, not a generic religious audience. All right. Go ahead, Berean Scholar. Sound like he's about to do something there.
Put my videos back up. I lost all of them.
Okay, and so it's just giving a breakdown here. Equality and judgment, how that was removed. But Berean, would it be all right, if I shared my slide real quick?
Go right ahead.
Since we are dealing with the steal away. All right, let me bring that up real quick.
Because when they kicked me out, they kicked all the stuff I had lined up too.
All right, let me share this screen. You got the juice now, man.
Wow, I just thank you guys that you kept going, and I thank you guys in chat that I saw the chat was still going on my phone, so I jumped on my phone and came back on.
All right, let's see here.
Did we lose Sister Carol?
No, I'm here. I had to refresh. I had a phone call to come in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody called and it wiped out your AOL line?
Yes, it sure did. I had to.
Oh, gotcha.
Had to start all over again. I had to wait for the all that to get through, so I could get back on.
All right, now you're starting to sound like Finding Nemo. Remember that?
Right.
Which he was making those sound effects. But real quick, family, just what we covered here, and that's why it's so important for us to understand this information, understand history. So, as you see here, let me move the screen over. Let me see. Let me move this. Now this blocking my screen. All right. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
All right. So I'm just moving the screen out the way because it's in the way. But on my end. So Exodus chapter 21, verse 16. All right. And it reads, "And he that stealeth ganab, a man, and selleth makar, him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." All right. And then when we go to the Hebrew word ganab, it says here, to thieve, to deceive, carry away, steal away. Entry number one, to steal away, carry away. So is it a coincidence, family, that our ancestors had songs that line up with this passage, and the song, the phrase "steal away" is a Hebrew word that is ganab, steal away, ganab, and they're singing songs that accurately line up with this definition, lines up with this chapter, lines up with the laws of what? It's supposed to be the laws of indentured servitude, but these nations of Japheth, they made it into chattel slavery, right? But anyway, and last point, I want to highlight here real quick. This is coming from Laura Ramey, Slave Songs in the in the Birth of African American Poetry, right? Nat Turner is often credited as being the author of one of the most famous slave songs, "Steal Away." So notice it highlights Nat Turner, right? Nat Turner leading the revolt, leading the insurrection, because he's reading that Bible, the fragments that he had, and he saw the liberation, as Berean Scholar laid out earlier. So Nat Turner is often credited as being the author of one of the most famous slave songs, "Steal Away," which is said to have been used as the rallying cry for the secret meetings that led to his divinely inspired 1831 insurrection. And then when we go to the third stanza from "Steal Away," it reads, "My Lord calls me. He calls me by the lightning. The trumpet sound within my soul, or within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Whether Turner's authorship is real or apocryphal, this poem is certainly intended on the literal and metaphorical levels to be about crossing boundaries. But even within these interpretive planes, which do not form such simple binaries, uh, there are additional levels of implied movements and translations. The literal Christian reading that the slaves would have intended to be heard by their masters would have been meaningful to the slaves themselves. In other words, it was not wholly a mask or a ruse. That message would have been that Jesus calls to Christians by natural signs, as the deity often communicates in slave songs. So basically, what they're saying is we created encryption, right? So through thunder, lightning, clouds, rainbow, and rain, as well as rocks, mountains, rivers, and sky in the sky, we have a cognitive blend and the crossing of time frames found so frequently in slave songs. The refrain in stanza 1, 2, and 4, right? And so let's skip down to where it says stanza 3. Explicitly is located in the future in relation to the speaker's present and at judgment day. The specific metaphorical subtext of steal away seems to have varied from region to region according to their most effective practical use. Perhaps it was the call to battle for Nat Turner and his revolutionaries. A missionary from Choctaw Mission in Texas named Alexander Reed claimed to have taught a version of the song to the Jubilee singers that he learned from a slave named Uncle Wallace, who said it was used by the slaves on a neighboring plantation, stealing away across the Red River in canoes to worship at Reed's mission. All right. The good ship, just one of the things that you hear people talk about, especially saying that the whole Jesus of Lewinbeck, in other words, the first slave ship being called Jesus. I could go into this here, but I'm not going to go into it right now. We can save this for another discussion here. But the other point that I want to highlight here, Zechariah 11 and 5 in the Tanakh, right? Whose buyers will slaughter them with impunity. Whose seller will say, praise be Yahweh, I'll get rich, and whose shepherds will not pity them. All right. Malcolm X, he pointed out about steal away, and I'm not going to get into all of this, but this is the one that I really want to get into. Let me make sure this is the one. Yeah. Dealing with the slave songs, right? And I'll wrap it up right here. So you can see the Hebraic messages here. And you see the encoding or decoding the messages here. The songs in and of themselves acted as signal codes for escape or rebellion plans. Now, it wasn't just the songs, it was also how the hair was braided, because the hair was braided in certain ways that you could see symbols, and it has messages in those signs, and as well as quilts, clothing. But anyway, the songs and of themselves acted as signal codes for escape or rebellion plans by recounting the Jews' desire for freedom and their hijra. All right. The most apparent metonymic metaphor were bondage equals slavery, Satan, slave master, King Jesus, slave benefactor, Babylon, winter, hell, farthest south, Jordan, first step, first step to freedom, Israelites, enslaved. I want to say that again. Israelites, enslaved, blacks.
Come on.
Not just enslaved, but made it clear. Israelites equals enslaved blacks. Egyptians, slaveholders.
Babylon,
land of freedom.
the South,
heaven, Canada, right?
you know,
Home, Africa. So I just
first
wanted to
step to
highlight a couple of things here, family.
Israelites.
Some of the things that we
Slaves. I
see
want to say
here.
that again.
I'm hearing
Israelites,
an echo back
enslaved
here. Is that just me?
blacks, not just enslaved, but made it.
Yeah, I was hearing like a echo in my ear. I wasn't sure if it
Yeah, I
was.
did too. That's weird.
Yeah. So, but family, this source is titled "Double Meaning of the Spirituals" by Lauren McIntyre. I encourage you guys to. I'll drop the link inside the chat so that way you guys can actually see. What I'm reading here. You can vet the information, but it's giving you a lot of information on the uh, the Negro spiritual, so to speak. And I just want to kind of take that steal away a step further to show you guys that are watching that is more to what we've been taught about even just the Negro song, so to speak, spirituals. To see that our ancestors, they knew and know that we are Israelites, and there's no coincidence that you see a popular song, "Steal Away," tying accurately to the law of kidnapping.
Exactly.
Brian Scholar, I yield. You still there, Brian Scholar?
I can't hear him. He needs to refresh.
We can't hear you, Brian Scholar, if you're speaking. Well, while he's doing that, just so that way we can we'll keep the momentum going here. All right, family. I'll read some of this here just so that way you guys can again get some clarity here. So we dealt with the metaphors here. We dealt with the equivalents and the songs. Like when you're listening to the songs, when you hear them singing about Israelites, they're referring to us, enslaved Negroes, enslaved blacks, right? Other standard images existed, such as the chariot for transportation to heaven, but only for the saved, clearing, tying salvation to each individual's fate. But here's a kicker right here. It says, upon hearing this song, whether or not able to see the singer, slaves knew their Moses had come for them. They made
Testing
preparations
one,
for
two, three.
leaving. Oh, we can hear you, Berean Scholar.
Man, my mic went out. I'm now going on my computer mic. So everything's happening now.
You open up a can of
We're gonna
worms.
keep going. We're gonna keep going.
All right. So as you see here, family, upon hearing this song, whether or not, matter of fact, let me just say this real quick. I have to go grandma on here, my grandmother. I rebuke it in the name. we say ma zabak to what the enemy is trying to do to sabotage this discussion, family. Now we done dealt with some technical issues on Berean Scholars channel, but nowhere near the magnitude of what we're seeing right now. Normally this happens when we're offline.
Yeah.
So he's experiencing, Sister Carrie, we dealt with this a number of times.
Absolutely.
But see, that's the same about it, guys. We're trying to expose those things those control system that they try to keep us by teaching something different on this Black history, how we go beyond. And I'm glad you went in detail on the Black spiritual, because the next one I was going to introduce is the books that other ministers wrote, a playbook how to control the Black slave.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked about offline, Pastor. Were you still teaching, Pastor?
If I can finish reading this, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So that people could, and this to tie into what you're going to bring, because it's dealing with them trying to rewrite, right? And this ties back to, as we talked about, the 83rd book of Psalms, a psalm rather. I'll pull that up real quick. I'll just read it real quick for those that may not be aware of it. Now my stuff is acting up here. Oh, that Psalms deal with the Crafty Council family. Let me see here if I could even. Yeah. So they have me working overtime. Have us working overtime.
Yep.
All right. So and this is key, family. I'll read it real quick and then we'll finish this source up real here. It says, "Keep not thou silence, O Elohim, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Elohim. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult," right? Which means a war cry, right? And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against who? Thy hidden ones. We're the hidden ones. We're that remnant. They said, "Come, let us cut them off from being a nation," tying it into Exodus 10, that they complete, not Exodus 10, but Genesis 10, that was completely removed. That gives you the pillars of a nation. And it says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The key, family, the Hebrew word for name is sham, and it means reputation. It means character. It means fame. It means glory. But the key is reputation. So when you read this, that the name or the reputation of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So take away our name, our literal names, take away our culture, take away our understanding of the text, just take everything out. All right. So real quick, as it says here, they made preparations for leaving. Those left behind, right? The remnant, those left behind were consoled by songs such as "Bound to Go" or "Members Don't Get Weary," an example of a triple meaning text that made reference to Harriet Tubman. Because Harriet Tubman, when you study her, she sang these songs too, and she was basically singing songs telling her the slave master in his face that she gonna be gone. She ain't got long. You know what I mean? To the point that her family was trying to calm her down because she was just. They was like, "Man, we don't know if she gonna live much longer because she getting bold with this thing."
Yes.
Right? So nevertheless, an example of a triple meaning text that made reference to Harriet Tubman as the Black Moses, while drawing the analogy between the conditions of the Black American slaves and the Israelites in Egypt, is the song "Go Down Moses." Man, my grandmother used to sing this part of her singer group that she had. But anyway, when Israel was in Egypt's land, "Let my people go." And I'm telling you, I'm having flashbacks. There used to be a lady by the name of Sister Coleman, and she was a straight baritone. So my
Let my
mother and them would literally
people
sing this.
go.
Yeah, they'll be like, "When Israel was in Egypt land," and she'll be like, "Let my
Let my
people go.
people go.
Oppressed so hard they could not stand. Let my
Let
people
my
go."
people go.
And then they'd be like, "Go down, Moses, way down
Go
to
down.
Egypt's land." And they had a chant with that. It was kind of like,
Oh yeah.
you guys know what I'm getting at. And then it say, "Tell O," and she come in, "Tell O Pharaoh,
Tell
let
let
my people
my
go."
people go.
And then she put extra notes at the end of it. All right. So that's what I
You need
want
a
to
wood
share,
floor
Berean
too.
Scholar.
You need a wood floor too when you do that.
Oh man, they used to get it in, man. They used to get. I just wish I had some old records, man, because they actually had vinyl. They had records that they were selling.
Speaking of which, now you brought that up. My mother, which you already know, Pastor Kelly, sung professionally with the United States Postal Service here in Easton, and they sung all of these old, as you call them, Negro spirituals, and that was one of the songs they sung on the album that I have here in this house.
Wow.
Yeah, I wish I could. I wish we saved those things, man. Sister Carrie, that's a
And I have
blessing
it.
because we don't even have the
Yeah,
albums.
I
My
know.
grandmother and them, they had albums,
Yep, I
but we
got
don't have
every
none of it.
album. I got every album of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Mm.
And mint condition, and all 45s. All
No.
still in mint condition. In the same jackets. I even have my autographed James Brown album. They brought me on stage in 1969 when he came here.
He brought
But
you on
yeah.
stage.
Yeah, he brought me on stage to dance. He saw I was down there dancing. He brought me on stage. I danced with me, and at the end of the concert, he autographed my album. Took a picture with him.
Wow.
And I have it. That's in the closet here in this house, my mother's house. But yeah, when you sing those songs, that just brought back all those memories of them singing this beautiful song. I mean, and you hear them sing, it gives you chills because of how they sung, and they sung all over, not over the city, but all over the state,
Yep.
singing these
Yep.
songs.
But
Yeah,
that's
and that
how
was
our
my
people.
grandmother. They were primarily they called themselves the Four Roses.
Mm-hmm.
They would travel with like Philadelphia, New Jersey,
Right.
New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then
Mm-hmm.
they'll go down to like Georgia, Alabama, and those areas. But my grandmother, because of some of the things she was subjected to, she was very hesitant of going back down south.
Right.
On she would call it the Chitlin Circuit.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it was called.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give a special shout out to Andre Hilton, and he was saying they took out of the laws and the culture and incorporated them, and no wonder, Satan, I guess he cut it off right there. But you're right, they took out everything to keep us from knowing who we were. They took everything to give us the opportunity to connect with our covenant. And just to recap, that was just a slave hour, guys. That was just a slave hour. That happened in 1807. Then it was done by the church. This were our church leaders who put that together. Then they got the good, and that was in the West Indies. They got the fresh ideas. Wait a minute, that's not enough. Let's go teach a system wide, even in the States. Let's put together a book that's the religious instruction of the Negroes in the United States. A minister, a Methodist minister, Charles Colquitt Jones. Guys, and in fact, I'm going to drop the link to this book from the North Carolina library, online library. You can read it yourself. I was going through the book and reading what it did. In fact, I had AI break down just like you did all the things that came and took. It was subjugating. It was focusing on just teaching the things that the slave Bible highlighted: obedience, forgiveness, submission. But when I was, and I thank the Most High that I stopped to give you a call and talk. When I went back, I read a line that I missed. So I'm going to let this play. So the first chapter, if you guys got the text, you can see it yourself. The first chapter, it gives away. It does a Dr. Michael Brown on us. It gives away some of the truth by mistake. Let me know if you see it come on the screen for me, guys. If it's up yet. Because I first time I read it, I didn't catch it. But this last time I read it, I said, hey, wait a minute, what did I just say? Can you hear that?
No, not yet.
Let's see.
The first period from their first introduction in 1620 to the first census in 1790, a period of 170 years. Such is the scarcity of materials and the difficulty of arriving at the scattered sources of information that I have called the following historical notice of the religious instruction of the Negroes in the United States.
Now I'm gonna stop here and just to give you a comment. If you click the link and you can read along with me, it's on the first chapter in the book. If you clicked on the link, let me see if I got it up. I don't want to switch back and forth, but if you clicked on it, it's the first chapter under the has the first page and all the index. But you go down to the first page, it says one account, and we're gonna get 5 lines in and listen to what it says.
A sketch. It deserves no better name, although perhaps it may embody the principal facts on the subject. For the sake of perspicuity, the sketch is divided into periods of time. The first period, extending from the introduction of the Negroes into the country in 1620 to the first census in 1790, a period of 170 years. The second period, from 1790 to 1820, a period of 30 years. And the third period, from 1820 to 1842, a period of 22 years. 1. Account of the introduction of Negroes into the colonies under the government of Great Britain. It was in the year 1501 that Isabella of Spain granted permission for the introduction of Negro slaves into Hispaniola, but such only as had been born in Spain or in slavery among Christians, and in the following year a few had been sent into the New World. In 1508, the Spaniards opened a direct trade in slaves and imported Negroes into Hispaniola from the Portuguese settlements on the coast of Guinea. Ferdinand V, by royal ordinance, enjoined a direct traffic in slaves between Guinea and Hispaniola in 1511.
Did you catch that?
Yes.
Yep.
Did you catch that? I'm gonna pull the active book. It actually went through and read.
Play one more time, just so that way the people get, and just, you know what I mean? Just, and I will pause it right there. And, just to let them hear it again, just to make sure
All right,
they
here
got
we
it.
go.
Under the government of Great Britain. It was in the year 1501 that Isabella of Spain granted permission for the introduction of Negro slaves into Hispaniola, but such only as had been born in Spain or in slavery among Christians.
This is a book on how to instruct the Negroes, and right in the front part of the book, he omits where we came from, where the initial shipment of our people came from. I'm gonna go on.
And in the following year, a few had been sent into the New World. In 1508, the Spaniards opened a direct trade in slaves and imported Negroes into Hispaniola from the Portuguese settlements on the coast of Guinea. Ferdinand V, by royal ordinance, enjoined a direct traffic in slaves between Guinea and Hispaniola in 1511, and Charles V in 1512 through 13.
Now, this he came out and said the quiet stuff out loud. I mean, in fact, I didn't catch that at first because I was looking at the all the laws that was given to how it was important for the white man, the white slavery, to teach Christianity to the slave and teach him submission and obedience.
Right.
I went on through the book. In fact, I hope you guys click that link and you read the book. It goes to a lot of detail how they tried to subdue us in submission using the gospel, just like the slave Bible. But I overread that first part. This man knew who we were, that we came out of Spain. A lot of us came out of Spain also, down to New Guinea. He actually quote the records that most of us have been hearing on this channel, on Pastor Richardson channel, and the Benaiah channel, on the migration of our people. They knew who we were. That's why they didn't want us to have the scriptures. That's why they didn't want the Old Testament in our hand, because they knew it would wake up. How many of you remember the movie Total Recall?
Yes.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger was placed in, it comes on. He's in a relationship and with his wife. He thought, and he was waking up and he's saying he wanted to go to Mars for some reason. He didn't know why. He just knew that he was made for something more than this, just being a working grunt.
Right.
And guys, that's us.
Right.
We got people right now sitting around saying it's got to be something more. But the powers that be did everything they can through religion, through education, through all the studies, the sciences, to keep us from getting the clues, the breadcrumbs that the Most High left for us.
And this proves the point of why our people think this is the white man's book.
I'm going to stop that video. In fact, if y'all want to listen to this video, is the audio book of the video. Since some of y'all might not want to read, I'm going to drop that for you too. But Sister Carol, I mean, I was getting the information ready before it all got kicked out, and I had about 5 or 6 points that I picked out that I went into the chat. They picked out some points, and then right at the last moment, I got off the phone with Pastor Kelly, and I opened the page, and some made me look at the first sentence and say, "Wait a minute, it's talking about Isabella." Let me read that again.
Right.
But they knew exactly where we came from because everybody know about the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
Everybody know who was involved, who was shipped.
Well, I would say know a form of
it.
Because when you hear how it's taught,
right,
the 1948ers, they take credit for being on the receiving end, because even Dr. Michael Brown has a book that I referenced before I even knew who he was, right, about the Spanish Inquisition. I think it was called Blood on Our Hands. I still have that book. And I was using it before I even had any interaction, not necessarily direct interaction with them, but I was using that book to deal with the Spanish Inquisition on some of the things that they were dealing with there. But back to the main point, that most of us heard about the Spanish Inquisition, but it's through the watered down rewriting of the history, not that we are really the recipients of the abuse. And the 1948ers, disguised as Ashkenazis and as Sephardic, they're the ones that was inflicting the cruelties.
Yes.
So I just thought I'd just give a little clarity for those that are watching, because I know that we know, but many still don't understand the magnitude of what the Spanish Inquisition really was. They'll just look at it from the 1948ers being the ones that went through this brutality.
Right. We were taught in school, in junior high school. My case was in 7th, 8th grade. That it was about white people.
Yeah, white Jews.
And they showed them being white.
In fact, if those of you who watch TV, Mel Brooks did a movie and did a little skit on it.
He sure did.
And I just want to let you guys know this is where this came from. This is a source from the University of North Carolina, right here, the library. And it goes down and shows the book. And I was pointing, that's all the index, first part, and you click, it goes to that page. But if you go to the very first chapter, which I don't know how I missed it. I'm glad I came back though. He mentioned, I saw Spain and Isabella. I said, wait, what are you talking about Isabella and Spain? In fact, this guy who wrote this book knew where the Negroes was coming from. So that's and he folk. And if you go on and read more farther, or if you don't want to read it, click on the video. I also dropped that link, and it reads it for you. He goes and tells you how to submit them to the obedience part of the Bible, the forgiveness part of the Bible. Keep them looking up to the slave master as being right on God Almighty. That's why we've been given that white Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I feel like the young girl that was from Fix University who said, "No, I don't think it was a good. It was that Slave Bible was a good book because they tried to deceive us." I feel portrayed.
They didn't try; they did.
You did, yeah.
Let's get that straight. They did deceive us.
Yeah.
And they made us believe. And there's things back in those chapters that they left in the book for us to keep. They used the word master as a god, and that they were God.
Yeah.
They were invoking themselves as being gods, and we had to be obedient to God because they were God. They were the master. Especially that Romans 13, it really pushes it.
Exactly. And the books that I'm glad. Thank you that you brought those passages out from the AI that showed exactly what passages, what chapters was taken away from the Bible. Because I've had so many people who said, "Well, I was just reading Deuteronomy and just wait a minute. I don't know anybody else who's been through those things but us."
Hmm. It makes sense. We didn't study that in church. We cherry picked over things. We didn't go in depth into those words, those passages to break it down.
Well, and see,
Nobody. I'm going to say to your point, Pastor Kelly. Nobody has ever described the curses and the consequences of not obeying.
Mm-hmm.
I am 63 years old, and nobody in any church I have been in has ever taught that. And I guarantee people in this chat hasn't either. Not a Bible study, not in regular church service. That has been discussed that way. We've never went through the laws
mm,
in that depth to make an understanding of that this is what we're supposed to do as a people.
mm. Wow.
You were saying
And it's
something?
and it's just sad how it makes you sad in thinking how we were manipulated like this. And that's
Lied.
why they think it's a white man's book.
They were right.
Yeah.
And the key is that old saying, "Whoever controls the pages controls
Mhm.
your thoughts," right?
That's it. That's
And
right.
that's what we're seeing here. And this is why we have to know what we know. So
Mm-hmm.
when we come across people like that, that's saying that the scriptures is a white man's uh,
Book.
Bible,
Right.
we have to understand how to, counter that.
Correct.
Not from a perspective of trying to defend a religion,
Mm-hmm.
because many that try to defend saying that the scriptures is not a white man's book, they try to defend Christianity.
Right.
And what gives us a vantage point is that we make it clear we're not Christians. We don't
Correct.
support Christianity. We don't support Catholicism. But we
Right.
don't need to have those to have Christ. That confuses. When I say that to people, starting with pastors, hey, just because I left the church per se, left
Mm-hmm.
Christianity, I didn't leave Christ,
That's right.
because that's the way that we were programmed.
Right.
Even how from ministries, if you leave a ministry, they'll treat you like you left Christ.
Mm-hmm. You don't believe in Christ anymore? That's the first
You
thing I
know,
ask you.
exactly. So now you take it to the level of where we are. Hey, just because I left Christianity, just because I left Catholicism, just because I left all those religious systems,
Right.
I didn't give up on Christ.
No.
Not the Christ that we were taught. I
Correct.
gave up on that Christ we were taught. I
Right.
embraced the Messiah, the true Messiah, and the true Messiah taught X, Y, Z. So that's the side of it that I just pray that many of our brothers and sisters really get it, because as Hebrews, the letter to the Hebrews talks about, that we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. So our actions can further drive people away when we're focusing on things that we should not be focusing on. And actually it's making people not want to leave the church, because believe it or not, there's many in the church that want to leave, but
Mm-hmm.
because of what they are seeing, they're like, they might as well stay where they are.
Right.
There are Israelites that are in church. So
Oh
we
yeah.
just have to go ahead, Brian Scholar. I'm sorry.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, let's call them awakened Israelites, because they all are Israelites.
Well,
The ones
I'm
who
just saying,
awaken.
but the
Yeah.
awakened ones are,
Right.
they literally, I've communicated with plenty of them that say they don't have a place of worship where they are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
and they just don't want to jump out and go into some of those spaces because they don't want to get caught up in bad doctrine.
Exactly, and I don't blame them. And they're absolutely right.
That's why it's important for us, as like you said, as Israelites, as the people of the Most High, to walk in the truth under the obedience of the Most High. Not just say we are, but under the obedience. We know we need to let the Spirit of the of Yah live in us. We got too much flesh. We want to come on everybody else's channel and teach lessons. We want to come back and tell people, well, no women should be talking, and we want to do all these other things. No, we need to reach our brothers and sisters who are still sleeping.
Agreed.
Because, like you said, Sister Carol, yeah, they did a number on us. They deceived us. So it's time for us not only to wake up, but we got to stop deceiving, and keeping ourselves in the dark.
Right.
I don't know if that picture that's up, is it big enough? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this is the overseer in church when they allowed us to have church in the slave house. They had the overseer there to make sure that we were, teaching the right way. Yeah. And most of us, I don't know about you, Pastor. We came from I came from a place where most of the people were taught. They were taught from a European point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I was taught from a European point of view.
And if you take it a step further, because even when you go to the accuracy of who was doing the teaching, especially when you start dealing with the Methodist Church and so forth, it wasn't the men, it was the women.
Correct.
That's what inspired Harriet Tubman, because she saw women, because they wouldn't let the men teach at one time. The first actually preachers, women preachers in our community were, the first preachers in our community were women. Mm-hmm. The Methodist Church, man, they further that division, but also going to the Willie Lynch letter, right? Because they knew that the women were more influential to teach their children to line up a certain way to the slave owners.
And that's all part of their system of control.
Correct.
Now, before I got kicked off and had to go back 3 or 4 different ways to come back on, I had a piece in my slide that I'm not gonna go try to find because we're getting late into this hour. But I even brought up the Azusa Street revival, because I don't know about you, Pastor. When I was studying that and I was taught that in school, they pointed out the people from Wales they gave the credit to them and Bonham, and just mentioned William Seymour. Is that how they taught you?
Oh yeah. They just mentioned, but basically he's being led by, what I can't remember his name again, but yeah, that's how they taught it. In Kojic, because that's a big thing that they default to when they're dealing with the power of the Holy Spirit. So yeah, they go to the Azusa Street, but he's like a secondary.
But if you go to the actual, you start reading for yourself, nothing happened till he came in.
Yeah.
I mean, the party nigga started, he came through the door. And for some reason, the slide was not even in my memory. But anyway, the fact is, those of you don't know, if you look up the history of the Azusa Street outpouring, or the Azusa Street revival, happened in 1901 in California. A Black minister heard about the teaching of the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and he went to hear another minister who was supposed to come in from Kansas to teach. They wouldn't let him in the classroom because he's Black. So he sat outside to listen to the class being taught under the window and in the hallway. Now, my instructor who was telling me this, and this, I'm sharing this in my insight of how I was led to listen. Look at what great faith this man had. Although he was oppressed, he still sat there and listened. He took it, as if that's how we supposed to be. That's how I was taught that this man sat and listened to that teaching outside, and he received it, and then he went on to start teaching himself.
Mm-hmm.
But but from my reading, he heard it. He didn't want to do that. That's all they let him do. That's why he went to start teaching himself. And when he started teaching, the Most High used him mightily. And the ones teaching the class came in and tried to assert the outpouring. They broke it up. So you're searching for something right now, are you?
Yeah, I was looking for something here.
Because I had I know Charles Burnham was one of the leaders of the class. If you guys look at his name, he's some people give him the credit for that. I think he was part of the Assembly of God. There it is, Assembly of God. He came in a outpouring that the spirit of the Most High came down and people started getting saved, healed, blind people were seeing again, people were walking again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. People from all nationalities. It was in L.A. You had a lot of Asian, Hispanic, Black, white. Everybody was fellowshipping. People was walking outside on the street and was dropping out. That's how most of the people saved. I had an opportunity to hear three older person who was kids during that time. They was in the kids ministry during that time, and they were sharing how powerful it was and what they saw with their own eyes. Mm-hmm. But the point I'm saying is, even the way something that great, that significant, it was taught through a lens that, wait a minute, but we were still in control. That's how I received that teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly how it was taught. That, like I said, he's secondary.
Yeah.
And like I said, and that's even coming out of Kojic. You know what I mean? Now, exactly. I will say the clarity that they gave in Kojic was, of course, given the history of the Assemblies of God coming out of Church of God in Christ.
Right.
And that was because they didn't want to, you already know the history of it. They were like, hey, we don't want to follow a Negro. So they branched out from there. Not all of them, but many of them didn't want to follow Bishop Mason for being a Negro.
Mason, first Clarence Seymour, then Bishop Mason. They didn't want to follow either one. They didn't want a black man having to lay hands on a white person.
Exactly. So that is why, and just giving a little backdrop to why he was treated the way that he's being treated, even the narrative of him being secondary.
And this is the foundation of church. Who took the books out the slave Bible? Church. Who came up with the theory of how to the religious instruction for the Negroes in the United States? Minister from church.
And that's what I want to add to that. I don't want to leave the 1948ers out of it, because even when you start reading the slave codes, you'll see their influence all through that, all over that. They had a major influence. It wasn't just the Roman Catholic Church coming up with these instructions. They played a major part, even how they defined the nationality of the slave. The nationality of a slave fell under the nationality of the mother. Now, who teaches that?
Yep.
So if a slave was freed, as far as a male, right, and he had a child with someone that was enslaved, right, the child would still follow the status of the mother, not the father. Sound familiar? You know what I mean? So exactly. When I started really going through those laws, those codes, and especially when you start, the first set of codes were in Barbados. Well, who was running Barbados? It was the 1948ers. They had a synagogue out in Barbados. That's supposed to be the oldest synagogue outside of Europe. So that I just adding to what you pointed out. I just just making it. I want to kind of make that point that to make sure that they are not given a almost an indirect pass because they worked hand in hand with the Queen, as you laid out, Fernando or whatever his name is. He was a Catholic Pope. I mean, not Pope, but King. But it's clear that he's a Catholic king, right? And he was put in place by the Roman Catholic Church.
Exactly. And guys, and just like Pastor said, these people, the 1948ers, the Catholic Church, the people who came over here and took over and stole land and pushed out the indigenous people, then kidnapped us. All these came up with these systems to control. I found the slide. But these things, that's William Seymour here in the top right hand. If anybody didn't know who he was, and you never heard about him, he's the person who should get the credit for the outpouring of the Azusa Street revival, or all the main Pentecostal denomination, from Church of God in Christ, Assembly of Gods, Foursquare, Church of God, the ones that done it. All those people, all the people who started them came out of that movement. And it came from that man. But according to how you read it and how you told, others who they gave, I think I got, Charles Palmer is one of the people they give him credit. Now this guy, if you'll do any research on this guy, he has known KKK influence, but yet he's a minister. But I think that's we're gonna wrap it up on that one. Anything else, Pastor?
No, you nailed it, man. You nailed it. I just want to say to the people, and we have more that we want to cover for the month. That we're going to just really walk it out to you guys that are watching. Actually, I'm going to, I was thinking about it earlier. I'm going to, come from a different angle. I'm going to deal with kind of talk about the Egyptians, the history of the Egyptians and us among them with historical sources, because, we oftentimes we hear that, there was no Israelites, there was no Exodus, so to speak, and all that other stuff. So I was going to kind of start with that and just kind of really address a lot of the poor teachings that is out there, and kind of throw a rock in at a couple, some of these people out here, starting with Sister Carol's favorite person, Dr. Brown.
Oh, my buddy.
Egypt is the place to be.
Hey, Egypt.
I knew Sister Carol catch it.
I started bopping my head since you said it.
So I want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing this with me, man. I thank you. I'm glad you had down the fork when they kicked me out.
Thank you. No, we appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you having us on.
I enjoyed this.
We can, like you said, Pastor, we can continue to keep this going, and we're gonna put out stuff that hopefully it will cause some people to realize that our history goes way beyond 1619.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's the unfortunate thing. Yeah. That they were teaching us that it didn't.
Pastor, you remember that quote from Marvin Garvey about a tree without roots?
Would be from Houston, Texas, that one?
Yep.
I'm just
H-Town, baby.
Marvin Garvey.
I gotta pick with Sister Carol.
Don't mess with Texas.
But nevertheless, a people without knowledge of their past origin and culture is like a tree without roots.
A people without knowledge of their past origin and culture is like a tree without roots. And that's what we're going to do this whole month. We're going to make sure our root system is strong. Amen.
Amen. Great job, man. Great job, Pastor. Really appreciate it again. Thank you, Sister Carol, for being on. Missed you last night, but we understand.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
I apologize. I needed some downtime, and I took it. I still probably gonna take some more, but I really appreciate you guys inviting me on today. I really missed this.
Well, anytime you need it, we're here.
Thank you.
Guys, that's what it is, guys. We're one big family, one Mashpachah, family of the Most High, sons and daughter of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to thank you guys for coming on. Hope you guys will hit the like, hit the share. Please, after this use that hype button, guys. Make sure we try to hype these videos so more people will see them. After we go off, please go back and put some comments in, share them on your other social medias, because we want to make sure people who are looking this Black History Month, people are looking for information, they follow on it and they start listening. And they look at these things that we dropped in the chat. These links I put in the chat, please use them. I hope you just eat it up so we can just educate our people the best we can to open their eyes so we can walk in the truth of the Most High. Other than that, I would say Shalom, and I'll let Pastor lead with his quote.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. In the words of Yahweh that he gave to Moses in Exodus chapter 13, verse 13 and 14, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that we see here today will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us, but we have to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word there in that text is not shalom. Some of you guys would say shalom, but the word that's there is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Shalom.
What do you think about this topic? Remember to be a Berean scholar. As it is written in the book of Acts 17 verses 11 to 12. Now the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if these teachings were true. It's time to deepen your understanding and see your reflection within the sacred pages. Please click subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the Berean Scholar channel.